Caitlin Clark is compelling ESPN to make unprecedented changes, and their announcements for 2025 signal a major shift in focus. For years, the network has largely ignored women's basketball, but now, after Clark's earth-shattering impact, they are scrambling to catch up. This is a pivotal moment, as ESPN's executives are sweating bullets, realizing they must adapt to a revolution brewing in women's sports. The glaring void in WNBA coverage has driven many fans to YouTube for news and highlights. ESPN's recent decision to launch a daily show during the WNBA season is a response to this gap, although it raises eyebrows that they're only committing to a seasonal program. One would expect a year-round show, but even this step forward offers more opportunities for content creators who have been filling the void with their own coverage. Clark's influence on the game cannot be overstated. She has not only drawn eyeballs to women's basketball, but has also generated excitement in arenas nationwide. Fans line up to watch not just her performances, but also those of her opponents, demonstrating the growing popularity of the sport. The result? Tickets for women's games are now some of the most sought after in sports. Some may wonder if Clark is receiving too much attention, but the answer is a resounding no. She is finally getting the recognition she deserves for her incredible skills. Behind the scenes at ESPN, the atmosphere is tense. For decades, women's basketball has been treated as an afterthought, often relegated to 30-second highlights in the dead of night. But now, after Clark's performances, the network is scrambling to figure out how to capitalize on her popularity. When Clark plays, TV ratings don't just rise, they explode. College women's basketball, once an afterthought, is now pulling in viewers comparable to primetime NFL games. This is a monumental shift that has left ESPN executives in emergency meetings, grappling with the implications of what they've overlooked. The so-called Caitlin Clark effect is real, and it's reshaping the narrative around women's sports. She has ignited a cultural movement that is drawing in fans who had never previously considered watching women's basketball. Kids, both girls and boys, are emulating her moves, and merchandise sales are soaring. This seismic shift has even the old-school executives at ESPN taking notice. For years, the network acted as if women's basketball was merely a token gesture for Title IX compliance. Now, they are realizing that they might have overlooked the biggest sports story of the decade while they were busy debating LeBron versus Jordan. The analytics are clear. When Caitlin Clark plays, social media engagement skyrockets, resulting in millions of impressions and viral moments. However, ESPN's situation is complicated. While they are investing millions in new programming and technology for women's basketball, they may be too late to the party. Independent creators have built strong connections with fans, providing coverage that ESPN neglected for years. Fans are turning to platforms like YouTube for in-depth analysis and updates, while ESPN has struggled with credibility among core women's basketball supporters. The executives at ESPN must now reckon with their past decisions, facing the reality that they missed out on one of the biggest stories in sports. As Caitlin Clark enters the WNBA, the Indiana Fever, who hold the first pick in the draft, are poised to become a must-watch team. Every game is set to be an event, and highlights will likely go viral. ESPN knows this, and they are panicking to position themselves as the home of women's basketball. But they are competing against creators who have built genuine trust and connections within the community. When Clark broke the NCAA scoring record, the ratings were nothing short of Super Bowl numbers. Advertisers who previously overlooked women's sports are now eager to invest, and ESPN is scrambling to catch up. But this narrative is bigger than Caitlin Clark. It's about an entire generation of players finally getting the recognition they deserve. ESPN is not just launching a show, they are rebranding the way they cover women's basketball. However, their focus on a seasonal show could be short-sighted. The WNBA offers year-round stories, free agency, trades, and player development that deserve attention throughout the year. The media landscape is changing, and ESPN is realizing that it must adapt to remain relevant. The traditional model of sports coverage is faltering, and fans are seeking more authentic and engaging content. Young viewers want interaction and in-depth analysis, not just highlights. If ESPN commits to providing consistent, high-quality coverage, they could inspire a new generation of female athletes. But the question remains, will they treat this as a trend to capitalize on while Caitlin Clark is hot, or will they invest in women's basketball for the long haul? The stakes have never been higher, and the future of women's sports media hangs in the balance.